Hello everybody, very good evening and welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. I hope that everybody is doing absolutely fine, and in this 15th lecture of our series SANSKRITI, where we are going to discuss about the temple architecture related to the Jainism and Buddhism, particularly in the late ancient or the early medieval period when there was the development of temple architecture taking place in India. So till now we have already discussed about the various features and the aspects of temple architecture quite extensively, not only in the northern India but also in southern India. We have seen the development of temple architecture particularly in the three distinctive styles, Nagara, Vesara and Dravidian style throughout the country. In fact, there are certain regional variations also, like when we go in the Bengal region or in the hill areas of Himalayas, there, as per the changing raw materials, as per the changing slope as well as the climatic conditions, we have the different features which are present in the temple construction. But apart from the physiographic features or the geographical reasons, the cultural reasons are much more significant to bring about the changes in the temple construction styles. Similarly, when we talk about the different cultural aspects of Jainism and Buddhism, there we can say that Jainism and Buddhism also led significant contributions to the growth of temple architecture in a different manner. So guys, make it sure that you share this class and lecture link with your friends or in the groups where you are there, right? Those who are already on my Telegram channel or on my Telegram groups, they can also share it there as well. And let's get started. But before proceeding further, let me tell you about our very special long-term batch 2025. So this is basically we are targeting 2025, and here the batches will be in the evening, available in English as well as in Hindi. So any student who is willing to join these batches, who is aspiring to appear for 2025 examination, he or she can join these batches because they have the immense features. For example, providing everything from the very basic level, beginning with the you can say proper coverage of NCERTs and other basics, and then slowly moving towards the next stage of covering the standard and other advanced contents. Apart from that, all other features which are necessary like current affairs and everything else, that will be provided to you. For more details you can check the application, and let's get started with the topic. So behind me the image of Nalanda University is there. Okay, Nalanda University is, I think you all must have heard about the incidents where it is said that Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khilji, he was the one who had destroyed this entire university, who had actually burnt down this university to the ashes. In fact, these are the remains of a very great and glorious ancient monument which was probably constructed by the ruler of Gupta dynasty named Kumar Gupta first. This structure is supposedly the house of hundreds of the national, international, in fact Indian as well as the other countries' students during the 5th century, 6th century, in that period. In fact, this entire system of education in the Buddhist manner, that continued up to the 13th century, right? In fact, I would say the beginning of 13th century or end of the 12th century, by which Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khilji burnt down this particular monument. Now here let me tell you one thing. As you are able to see this structure, you can see that the extensive use of the bricks, that is highly visible here. Extensive use of the bricks, using the slabs of the bricks and making these stairs, etc. The height also tells that this used to be a monumental structure. Apart from that, the most important part, that is the structure similar to the stupa like designs made up of the bricks as well as the stones or the brick and plaster. Apart from that, you can see the circular plinth like structures. Apart from that, you can see the pillars made up of the bricks and the galleries going inward. Then here the most important structure, which is probably made up of the stone, this is having the intricate carvings and the sculptural designs similar to that of a temple, Now that is very, very important to understand. Why so? Because when we talk about the Buddhist temple architecture, nowadays you might be hearing here and there that some people are claiming that every important Hindu temple site, they are trying to make it controversial, claiming that it was related to the Buddhism. Why are they doing so? What is the reason behind that? Or is there any type of reality into it? If we study the art and culture, we will clearly understand it. So let me tell you one thing. During a specific time period, there is a specific method of construction of the temples, specific type of raw materials used in the construction. Not only that, there is a specific pattern of decoration which is used in the sculptures as well as the decoration of the surface of that particular temple wall. This is why, my dear, doesn't matter if it is a temple of Vishnu or Shiv or Buddha or any other deity, it does not matter. But if that temple will belong to a certain specific time period, for example, say Gupta age or say Chalukyas or Rashtrakuta period, that temple or that sculpture will have the similar features of decoration. For example, if you look at the specific sculptural designs constructed by the Rashtrakutas, either in the Jain temple or in the Shiv temple, you will not be able to differentiate in the two distinct figures. Similar appearance will be there for Shiv, similar appearance will be there for Vishnu, and similar appearance will be there for Vardhaman Mahavir or Gautam Buddha. This is actually called as the expressive nature of a specific period. So when we talk about the Buddhist temple architecture, we cannot actually distinguish by looking it from outside that which one is a Buddhist temple, which one is not a Buddhist temple. However, there are certain places like Bodh Gaya where the temple structure is entirely different. For example, if you see here, beginning from the Magad up to the 8th century, the Pal dynasty in the eastern India, particularly the area of Magad, area of Bihar, area of Bengal, all that region came under the dominance of Pala dynasty, and the Palas were proliferous builders. And they actually constructed not only the Buddhist sculpture. Let me tell you, examination, right? In examination, you can see such a question. Suppose there is a question which is having the first statement that the Buddhist architecture got impetus during the Pala period in Bengal. First statement, correct statement. Second statement will be there, which will say that the Palas only patronized the Buddhist culture or only patronized the Buddhist architecture. Now that will become a wrong statement. I hope you are able to understand the point. Say yes or no, everyone. Those who are live here in the session, they can say yes or no if they are able to understand it. Now let me tell you one more thing. Here, suppose if you are able to see any particular temple belonging to the Pala, right, Pala reign. For example, there is a temple made up of the terracotta in the Vishnupur, right, in West Bengal, or the temples in the Varanasi region, or the temples present in the Paharpur, particularly in the Bengal, or the monasteries constructed by the Palas in Odantpuri, in Somapura, in Jagaddala. Different places are there where the Palas contributed with the help of their architectural marvel. But one important thing that is to be understood, that apart from constructing the temples dedicated to Buddha or Vishnu or any other deity, there was no way to segregate or to differentiate any temple just by looking from outside. They all looked very similar to each other. The typical Bangla style curved roof that was followed, typical Bangla style straightish tower or shikhar that was followed. So these features you can note it down as I am telling to you, or you can also learn it by listening to this lecture again. Now, moving to some of the prominent Buddhist sites. As we all are aware that prominent Buddhist sites were primarily developed since the beginning of Gupta period in the form of temples, because before the Gupta period there was the construction of the stupas, not the temples, chaityas, not the temples, and viharas, not the temples. Stup, chaitya, vihar, they were more common and prominent Buddhist structure before the Gupta period. But after the Gupta period, when we got the engineering skills of construction of the freestanding structures, then we started constructing the freestanding temples even for the Buddhism. So have a look on this one, Bodh Gaya. How does it look like? It looks like a very simple but very elegant combination of the Nagara and Dravidian combined style. Okay, it is claimed, I would not say that it is a fact, but it is claimed by many historians that the original structure of the temple that was constructed during the Maurya period by Ashoka. However, this shape of the building which is visible here in the picture, that was constructed during the colonial period. It was actually restored during the colonial period. You can observe the presence of the Amalaka, okay, the presence of the Kalash. You can also observe the presence of the similar Gopura as that of Dravidian temple. You can also watch for this additional tower, additional building, as well as the towers located in the sideways similar to the Dravidian style. However, you can also see that there is a comparative narrow pyramidal style, which is actually nothing but a narrow phamsana, style of shikhar. Okay, everyone. So I hope that everybody is able to understand each and every terminology here in the class. Why so? Because we have already covered these terms in our previous lectures. Have you watched it? If you have not watched it, please watch it after the session is over. All right. Now, apart from that, you can also see the presence of a separate, this is very important feature. The Mahabodhi temple at Bodh Gaya. Why are we saying that it is a combination of the Dravid as well as the Nagara style? Still, it is not the Vesar style. It is because unlike Vesar, the Mahabodhi temple has got a very tall tower. Okay, tall towers are the features of Nagar and Dravid, not Vesar. Unlike Vesar, it has not got the Trikut pattern of construction. It is having a simple pattern of construction based on the rectangular plan, usually found in the Nagar, right? However, it looks like a pyramid with non-reducing slope, with non-dissimilar slopes or a continuous slope. In the Dravidian architecture, we have the discontinuities in the slope or the zigzag pattern of the slope. In the Nagar, we have the constant slope of the temple tower. Here also we have a constant slope of the temple tower. Look at this one, constant. In the Dravid, we have like that. Okay, in Dravid we have like that, where we can meet the edges, but there are the grooves present within it. So we can say that Mahabodhi temple of Bodh Gaya, that is a unique specimen combining the ardent features of Nagar as well as the Dravidian style, having its own unique specialities and presenting the prominent Buddhist features. For example, here, look at this one. This temple is quite unusual. As I told you, it does not strictly follow a Nagar or a Dravidian style. But when you see the other aspects, like other Buddhist sculptures, other Buddhist structures, then this particular place, which is found near Nalanda, you might not have heard, or you might have heard that nearby the Nalanda University, guys, remember this point. This is very, very important for the examination purpose. There is another place called as Telhara. Telhara is also in Bihar only, nearby Nalanda itself. Telhara is also having the specimens of probably a university or probably an ancient monument. Okay, everyone. So this image is taken from the site of Telhara. Here you can observe probably the remains of hundreds of such stoop-like structures or hundreds of such pillars-like structures on which the huge monuments might be laying. Right. Not only that, when we talk about the architecture of Buddhism, we should also understand about the specific art style of the Buddhist architecture in the area of Nalanda and nearby regions. Okay, everyone. So now I will be telling you some very important facts. So please listen that carefully. When we are talking about the University of Nalanda, also called as the Nalanda Mahavihar, it is called Mahavihar because it was constructed by Kumar Gupta. However, Dharmapal had donated the huge land area and had provided the expansion funding to the Nalanda monastery. That is why it became a Mahavihar. However, this monastery, actually this Mahavihar, it has the several monasteries with the specific pattern of sculpture art. For example, all three Buddhist doctrines, Theravada, Mahayana and Vajrayana, these were taught here, and the monks, they made their ways to the neighboring countries, and in fact they came from such remote and far places like Korea, Japan, China and other Central Asian countries as well. Not only that, in Nalanda you will find the specific sculptures made up of the terracotta and stucco. Okay. So if this statement is coming in the examination, I can bet that without having studied or without having ever heard this type of things, you cannot do any blind guess. So this is why it is very essential to understand when we talk about the stucco. What is the stucco? Guys, have you ever seen that in the mud there is a combination of the reed. Okay, combination of the reed. What is the reed? Reed is basically the dry grasses, the husk, the hays, etc. So these grasses, husk or hay, that is combined with the mud, and then we get a very you can say compact and a very strong structure that is called as a stucco. That's called as a stucco. Okay, some of you might have seen the stucco sculptures of even Lord Ganesh or even Goddess Kali or Durga during our celebrations, right? During our celebrations of Ganesh Chaturthi or celebrations of Navratri. What is the stucco? Basically, the sculpture made up of the soil. Sculpture made up of the soil by mixing the dry grasses. That is a stucco. Okay, that gives a proper binding and a proper shape, as well as the strength that is also given. So these are the stucco images you can see here. This is actually the representation of representation of the Tara. What is Tara? You might not have heard about Tara, but let me tell you, Tara is basically regarded as the wife of Bodhisattva. Okay, everyone. Now, some of you might be thinking that from where did this concept of wife of Bodhisattva come? So this concept is related to the Vajrayan. Okay, Vajrayan. When I talk about Vajrayan, remember that in the Vajrayan there is also the combination of the Mahayana plus Tantrayan. Okay, Mahayana, that means you can say the customs and the rituals and the practices are there, and Tantrism, right? Tantrism is also there, which means that the combination of Mahayana Buddhist practice along with the pre-existing Tantrism that resulted into the development of Vajrayan in the Buddhism as its third branch. The first two important branches were Hinayan and Mahayana. Third branch became Vajrayan. Now, these sculptures are also visible to you. Probably you are able to see now, right? Probably you are able to see now that the images of Buddha, they are shown very similar to the Puranic descriptions of the gods like Vishnu and Shiv, right? It appears like they have the cover of the multi-headed serpent, or it appears like they have the the jewelries made up of the snakes or other deadly animals. Some of them also appear to have the crown as well as the bun over the head. So what exactly does it mean? Does it mean that Buddhism is copying from the Puranic description, or does it mean that Hindu gods and goddesses, they have copied it from the Buddhist descriptions? No, my dear. As I told you, that in every era there is a specific pattern of representation of the cultural symbols. So similarly, when we talk about the Gupta period, it was considered a very common practice to represent the different type of the powerful deities, be it the Brahmanical deities, be it the Buddhist deities, with some superhuman capacities, with some supernatural tendencies, like having the multiple hands or the heads, or having the combination of the different species. These type of things were very prominent, and similarly these type of descriptions became a part of the Puranic literature as well as the part of the Jataka literature. So that is why such type of sculptures you can clearly observe. Apart from that, this is the zoom in or the enlarged image of that building which we saw in the Nalanda University, which I told you that it looks like a temple. So on the wall of that temple you will be able to observe this type of bracket on the wall, and within that bracket you are able to see the standing images of various bodhisattvas or the disciples of Buddha, along with the celestial or the demigods and goddesses. You can see here feminine figures, right? Feminine figures which are standing or kneeling down or sitting on the side with some sort of mudra, abhay mudra, or some sort of folded hands you can see here, but all of them are feminine. What does it indicate, my dear? It indicates that by the end of the 5th century, 6th century, during the 7th century, the representation of the female figurines in the Buddhism that had increased immensely. The females were not very common part of the Buddhist sculpture art initially, but later on they started depicting the female figurines much more often than before, and this will become the indicative of the decline in the cultural serenity of Buddhism, which will lead to the reduction of the popularity. Look at how beautifully we can conclude just by looking at the sculpture, just by tracing the curve of development in the sculptural art, we can understand the story of the decline of popularity of a particular religion. Similarly, you will also observe that when the subsequent Hindu temple architecture will be constructing the sculptures, even they will also emphasize upon the female figurines to make it more attractive and to make it more you can say commemorative for the glory of these rulers. Right, everyone? I told you that in different era the definition of good or definition of the famous, definition of the popularity, that is different. So in that period, construction of this type of sculpture, that was the symbol of showing your greatness. That's why they were constructing so many sculptures. Now, other sculpture arts of Nalanda style, if we talk about it, guys, as I told you that stucco, stone, bronze, etc., they were quite important for the Buddhist sculpture art in the Nalanda. By the 9th century, let me tell you, there was a synthesis between the Sarnath Gupta style and the local Bihar tradition that resulted into the development of the Nalanda school of sculpture. Right? Nalanda school of sculpture. The images which I was showing to you, those images were basically the sculptural examples of Nalanda style of sculpture art. Alright, everyone? In fact, Nalanda art is distinguished by the high quality of the workmanship as well as the precise executed sculptures which appear very symmetric, very you can say configured and very much balanced in their appearance. You can watch this, right? You can literally understand that these images were exactly as per the description of the monks provided in the contemporary literature. All right. When we talk about the other features of the Buddhist art at Nalanda, have a look on this. Initially, they depicted the Buddhist deities. Now, remember this particular line because this line might be the part of your question paper, because these things are the exact the nature of question which they ask in the real examination, but we never pay attention, so that's why we are unable to do so. What is written here? Initially, they depicted the Mahayana Buddhist deities. For example, the standing Buddha, Bodhisattvas like Manjushri, Avalokiteshwar, Nagarjuna, all these. But later on, my dear, Nalanda became the center of tantric traditions. As I told you, Vajrayana, that became more important part of the Nalanda sculpture. And here you will observe that initially they were showing Mahayana, later on they will be showing the Vajrayana deities like Vajrasharada, like Karshapan, like Avalokiteshwar. And guys, remember that various deities from the Shaktism tradition like the Yoginis, like Shakti or the fierce goddess like Saraswati, okay, or even the pantheons of the Shaktism related to various incarnations of Durga, or even the the description of the Mahavidyas. All these things became mixed with the Buddhism. Shaktism, Tantrism, they both got mixed with the Buddhism, resulting into the synthesis of an entirely new tradition. This is why today when you see that some people with the half intellect or with the incomplete understanding of the context, they claim that these deities of Buddhism or Hinduism, they just claim that one has originated from the other. No, both were there, but the synthesis has resulted into the similar appearances or similar stories or similar functions. Got it? Vajra Sharda is basically the fierce form of goddess Saraswati, who is regarded as a goddess of the knowledge in Hindu tradition, as well as Vajra Sharda is regarded as the goddess of knowledge in the Vajrayan tradition. All these sculptures, they became the common depictions in the Nalanda style, and this is why, my dear, some of the earliest Tibetan Buddhist scholars or some of the earliest Tibetan lamas or the head of the Vajrayan monasteries in Tibet, they were the disciples of the Nalanda school or Vikramshila school of Buddhist learning. That is why. In fact, you can see this unique sculpture, of Buddha, it is made up of the bronze, and this is obtained from where? This is obtained from Nagapattinam, that is located at the Coromandel coast. UPSC had asked this question related to the famous Buddhist site. Like in 2023, they had asked about the site present in the Andhra Pradesh. Similarly, a few years back, they had asked about the site present in the Andhra Pradesh once again. Okay, so this particular place, Nagapattinam, if we talk about the locations in Tamil Nadu coast, Nagapattinam is in Tamil Nadu coast, or Andhra Pradesh, that is the Godavari region, Godavari district region, okay, Amravati basically. So all these areas, the coastal areas, had become the important centers of Buddhism because of the promotion of trade and commerce. And as we all are aware that the traders and the merchants, they supported either Buddhism or Jainism. So this time they were supporting Buddhism. Why so? Because Buddhism was their conventional religion since the period of Ashoka. That is why they continued supporting the Buddhism. Okay. Now, one of the reasons for this must have been the importance in the trade. As I told you, the trade was very significant. Guys, the areas like Ratnagiri, Lalitagiri, Vajragiri, they are all present in Odisha, and they are all the centers of great Vajrayan and Mahayana traditions of Buddhism. Okay, in this pantheon you can see Buddha is seated on a chair, and along the different sides of Buddha you can see the entire group of the deities with the folded hands, and doesn't it look like the descriptions given in the Puranas about Lord Vishnu or about any other god? It looks very similar, isn't it? Here also you can see this particular temple. Guys, this is the temple called as the Lakshmana temple. Lakshmana temple located near Raipur. A place is called Sirpur. Okay, a place that is called Sirpur in Chhattisgarh. Okay, Chhattisgarh. So this is actually supposed to be one of the oldest sculptures or oldest structures in Chhattisgarh related to the Hinduism. But the Sirpur temple, it is not only a Vishnu temple but also related to the Buddhist culture. Both of them, they belong to the similar time period, and this is a very unique example which shows that the practice of simultaneous construction of the Buddhist as well as the Brahmanical structures, they were very, very common in the Gupta period or in the post-Gupta period or in the Rashtrakuta or the Chalukya period or even in the Chola period. The Shiva and Buddha together, or the Jain and Vishnu together, or the Buddha and Vishnu together. Okay. So this is why we must not be fighting against each other. We must not be thinking or quarreling against each other just by considering some old historical monument, because today we are considering them as very exclusive, very separate religions. Let me tell you that after the beginning of Puranic age, the Buddhism and Jainism, they became closely interconnected and associated with the Brahmanical culture. Not only in Sirpur, also at Badami, you will find the Jain temples and Hindu temples together. In Ellora, different caves, they have the Buddhist structure, they have the Jain structure, they have the Brahmanical structure. Similarly, there are places where, or in fact there are examples where the father belonged to the Brahmanical culture and the son accepted Jainism. Okay, so you can find numerous such examples in the Rashtrakoot dynasty, in the Chandela dynasty, in the Parmar dynasty, Solanki, Chalukyas. Many dynasties are there in history which tell you that the different rulers, they accepted the different religions. Hinduism, Jainism, and Hinduism, basically when I am saying Hinduism, it means Shaivism or Buddhism or Shaivism or Vaishnavism or Shaktism. But all these religious sects, they were interchangeable with each other. Suppose for half of my life I am a worshipper of Vishnu, later on I would be changing to the worshipper of Buddha. That had become the standard practice. Now, Jain temple architecture. How is the Jain temple architecture separate from the Buddhist temple architecture? Let me tell you. Because Jains, they closely followed the local or the regional construction styles. For example, in Gujarat, they will follow the Maru Gurjar style. In Karnataka, they will follow the combination of Vesar with little bit of tweaking, little bit of differences. Otherwise, the standard Vesar style they will follow. So here if we talk about the Jain temple architecture, the oldest Jain pilgrim sites are present in Bihar. Okay, and like certain Buddhist sites are at present, they are the Brahmanical sites. Similarly, my dear, certain Jain sites which were ancient and which were related to Jainism, they were converted to the Buddhist site. Similarly, like Ajivika caves constructed by Ashoka and Dasharath, these caves were later on converted and utilized by and for the Buddhism, right? For and by the Buddhism. So, similarly in the Deccan, the most architecturally important Jain sites are basically located in Ellora and Aihole. Ellora is related to the Rashtrakutas and Aihole is related to the Chalukyas. Okay, everyone. Similarly, in the central India also we have the lots of Jain monuments, such as the monuments at Chanderi, such as Khajuraho, or in Ranakpur, right? Ranakpur, Mount Abu, right? So Gujarat, Rajasthan, Bundelkhand, Malwa, these areas became the prominent centers of the Jainism. For example, this temple is located in Gujarat. Now this is your task to find the name of this temple. It is actually having the group of temples. Many temples are there, probably 1000 temples are there. It is considered as the largest group of Jain temples in the world, located in Gujarat. Okay, so here you can see so many temples and so many structures. But can you observe one thing? Can you observe one thing? Just tell me, don't you think that it is quite similar to, similar to the prevalent style of the central India's Nagara style? Look at the presence of the Shikhar with the Amalak, with the Kalash, with the Urushringa, with the Urushringas. Okay, Urushringas. Similarly, you can also observe the presence of the, curves, as well as the presence of the Maru Gurjar style of the tower combinations, right? Maru Gurjar style of tower combinations. Not only that, you will also observe the presence of the balconies and the cornices, as well as the flanges. So these are called as the chhajjas, or these are called as the jharokhas. So these jharokhas or chhajjas are also present here in this temple style, which is inspired by the local tradition of the Gujarat. Local tradition of Gujarat. That is why this temple architecture is really important. As I told you, the Jains were probably the most accommodative, most inclusive type of architecture that was followed by the Jain temples. In Karnataka, we have a rich heritage of the Jain shrines located particularly in the areas nearby Gomateshwar, particularly Shravan Belgola, as I told you, because Gomateshwar statue is a very famous one. You might have also heard about the statue of, that grand statue of Lord Bahubali, who was the son as well as, who was the disciple of Adinath. Okay, so here let me tell you, this sculpture is extremely important, and here 18 meters or 57 feet high. Okay, 57 feet high. Guys, if we go by the tradition, let me tell you, I was going to say the son of Adinath, but then I changed to the disciple of Adinath. Actually, what happens that when I say son or the disciple, actually the first thing that comes into the mind is the considerations of Digambars and Shvetambars. Both of them actually regard it separately. Okay, that's why I would abstain from making any such statements, but I will simply say the figurehead related to the Jainism. Alright everyone, so understand it. So this is actually the world's largest or the tallest monolithic freestanding structure. Got it everyone? Here let me tell you, this sculpture of the Bahubali was actually constructed by Chamunda Raya. Okay, Chamunda Raya, who was the commander-in-chief and the prime minister of the Gangas of Mysore, Western Gangas of Mysore. Okay, Western Gangas of Mysore. Got it everybody? So that is a very important monument. You might have seen this Mastaka Abhishek. This is the ceremony called as Mahamastaka Abhishek. Mahamastaka Abhishek. Okay. So Lord Bahubali is actually a figurehead of Jainism related to the Digambar sect. However, it does not mean that the Shvetambars don't consider. Obviously, Shvetambars consider and also revere him a lot. Here you can see the Jain sculpture at Mount Abu. Let me tell you guys that Mount Abu is a very specific, very special place related to the Jain architecture. Why so? Because like many other sites in Gujarat and Rajasthan, the Jain architecture is vividly displayed at Mount Abu. In fact, some of the most fine sculpture art, most fine and exquisite decoration of the temple, that is present at Mount Abu. In fact, if you will observe the images of these decorations, you can simply get stunned, nothing else, by looking at this great sculpture art on the pillars, intricate carvings, these designs, as well as you can see probably the most rich structural decoration ever that is observed in our country. That is basically here in the roof section of the Mount Abu temple. This temple, which is located at Mount Abu, it is actually the continuation of the tradition of the Jain temples in Gujarat and Rajasthan, and also the Jain bronze sculptures particularly obtained from Bihar, Chausa, or also obtained from Hansi in Haryana, okay, and Tamil Nadu as well as in Karnataka. Guys, you will observe that around 10th century, 11th century, 12th century, the Jain sculpture and Jain temple architecture, that will increasingly become more decorative, more rich, and more aesthetic in the appearance. Unlike the earlier and simpler structures, now the Jain temples will become more rich. What is the reason? Can anybody tell me the reason exactly? Guys, the reason will be that from the beginning of the feudal age, the Jain religion will become the primary religion of various merchants, various traders who were also, along with the traders and merchants, they were also the local chieftains, the local landlords. Okay, so when a person gets the money, when a person gets the trade profit as well as the accumulation of the wealth is there, then naturally we can say that the richness in the richness in the architecture, that will definitely increase. So Jain temples in Mount Abu were constructed by Vimal Shah. Guys, Vimal Shah was basically related to the, actually Vimal Shah was one of the ministers in the court of the Solankis or Parmars, and later on this structure became famous as the Vimal Vasahi, famous as Vimal Vasahi. Vimal Vasahi. Similarly, guys, the Jain temples in Karnataka, they are also called as Basadi. They are also called as Basadi. All right. In Karnataka, you will find the use of the granite. You will find the granite, and in the Rajasthan, etc., you will find the use of the marble, both granite and marble. These were the costlier stones. These were the more shiny and murmuring stones, which were actually used by the rich aristocratic classes who invested in the display of their fabulous wealth by constructing these religious structures. And this is why the shine, the luster, the decoration, the appearance, they are all outstanding and they are all outclassed by itself. So here, unique pattern on every ceiling and the graceful bracket figures along the domed ceilings. Right? This is actually one of the famous sites, and the temple which I showed to you, which had the numerous Shringas and Urshringas, that temple is located in Kathiawar at a place called as Palitana. In that place, hundreds of temples, several temples are clustered together. Guys, remember one thing. The cluster of temples is not only the feature of the Jainism, but this is also the feature of the Brahmanism or the Hinduism during the same period. Around 10th century, 11th century, 12th century, this cluster structure of that was very popular. Similarly, my dear, the construction of the group of the temples at Bateshwar, at a place called Bateshwar, nearby Morena in Madhya Pradesh, by the Gurjar Pratihar dynasty, that is also an example of the clustered temples. Similarly, the clustered temples are present, constructed by Chalukya dynasty at a place called Pattadakal in Karnataka. So there are several such examples where we have the clustered temples constructed by the rulers in order to provide the comprehensive appearance as well as the obviously the display of the wealth and nothing else. All right, everyone. But one thing I can see that meanwhile many people came live in the class, but guys, you do not, I think you did not hit the like button. Actually, see, you all are aware with the working of the YouTube, you all are aware with the, how does it function, right? So when you hit the like button, when you just do the comments, etc., that actually increases the reach of the lecture. As at present, we are actually, working on this new venture of StudyIQ. Of course, we are actually launching the numerous programs on our English channels. So I request and insist to all of you that when you join the class, when you watch the lecture, when you learn something from it, do not miss hitting that like button. Yeah, that's a very simple and free to do thing. You must be doing that for the useless videos, giving you nothing but just some time pass. At least here, this is giving you certain learnings, okay? So you can definitely do that. That is going to encourage the confidence, encourage the attraction, as well as encourage the reach of the video so that more and more people can watch it. Okay, everybody. So that's a simple thing. That's a small thing that we need from you, and all others, all those who are looking for 2025 program of civil services examination, for them we have got our September evening batch of long term 2025 that is there, where we will be providing the batches in the English and Hindi. It will be a comprehensive program covered in different steps. First the basics will be covered, then the proper course and conductance of the standard books that will be there, and then there will be the PDY advance. Okay, then there will be the advanced coverage exclusively for the purpose of exam. So all these things, they are related to your requirements, your needs. So I request to all of you that enroll in this particular batch, use this code ASR live, because this is actually going to be a 2-year program, almost, right? 2 years program. So all the students who are undergraduates, who are pursuing their second year, third year, who are looking for 2025, 2026 to appear in that year exams, for them this is the best and the perfect curated course you can enroll into. Alright everybody, but remember one thing, that this is my code ASR live. Okay, Abhishek Singh Rathore, this is the code, right? So this will be giving you the benefit in the fees. In fact, this will be giving you the maximum benefit here. So you can check that as per your preference. If you don't need it, then you can share this class, share this information with any of your friends or any of your colleagues or knowns. Thank you so much for watching it. For the content related things, you can join my Telegram group by this particular link, or by scanning this QR code. That is also useful for you. All these contents which I take in the class, that will be uploaded at the end of the week together, right? So that is also going to be very much helpful. Thanks a lot for watching it, guys. Take care. We will meet tomorrow once again on 4 p.m. Thank you so much for watching it. Jai Hind.